Okay, so we're going to start talking about now and finishing up chapter 4 by looking at the residuals and the sum of the square residuals. And to do that, we're going to be looking at our example of the driving experience versus the monthly auto insurance. So this is your X is your independent and your Y is your dependent variable. The first part is to find the regression line. And again, you're going to do this by using your calculator. You are not expected to do this by hand, so please don't try. And we have that our equation is negative 1.548x plus 76.660. Okay, so that's the first part, finding the regression line. And what we're going to have now is we're going to be looking at what we call the predicted values. Okay, and these predicted values, we're going to use y to the first power, y prime, can be found for each x by substituting each x into the regression line. Okay, so for example, I can find a predicted value for x equal to 2. And I'm going to do that by letting x be 2 into my regression line. So that becomes y is equal to negative 1.5148 times 2 plus 76.66. And so that predicted value for x equal to 2 is equal to, let's see, negative 1.548 times 2 plus 76.66, 73.564. Okay. Okay, so again, this guy we just found is your predicted value. Okay, so what does that have to do with what we're talking about? Okay, we want to remember that we actually already have a value here, right? When x is equal to 2, we know the y value is equal to, 87. And what this 87 here, what we call that guy, is this is our actual value. So all the actual values are basically in your table. They're always given, and your predicted values are the ones you're going to find by substituting into your regression line. Okay, and so we need this for the residuals. Okay, so to find the residual, you're going to take the actual value minus the predicted value. Okay, which is just again y minus y prime. That's what we call it. Okay, and that's what we call the residuals. And so for each x, we have a actual value, and we also have a predicted value that can be found. Okay, so once we have the residuals, we can go ahead and find the sum of the squares of the residuals. And this is going to require a little bit of work. I really don't suggest you do this in your by hand, because it does require a lot of calculation. So really attempt to do this using Excel, okay, or your calculator. Okay, so let's talk about how do we use your calculator. So you're going to enter your x values in L1. You're going to enter your y values. Again, remember these are your actual values. in L2, which you already have. Okay, and then you're going to start asking the calculator to do all this work for you. You're going to ask the calculator to do some work for you, in this case to find the predicted values. And to find the predicted values, remember we have to enter them into the calculator. So you just have to ask, I'm sorry, not into the calculator, into the regression line. So going back to the regression line, right, it is right here, negative 1.548, right, so you're going to tell the calculator to do negative 1.548 times x, okay, but my x's are now in L1, so I'm going to tell it L1 instead in there. Don't forget the last part, right, plus 76.66. So plus 76.66. Okay, and here you should be able to get a list of all the predicted values. So L3 will produce all the y primes. Okay, it will give you all the predicted values. Okay. After we find our predicted values, we can go ahead and find the residuals. Okay, and again, we can ask our calculator to do this work for us. Now, residuals are always the actual value, which is L2, minus your predicted values, which are L3. Okay, so you can guess exactly what you're going to tell L4 to do. You're going to tell it to take L2 minus L3. Okay, and you can go a step further here because we actually need these values squared. So you can go ahead and tell the calculator to actually put this little thing in parentheses and square it. Okay, so don't forget the parentheses. That's really important. And that's going to give you, okay, so let's just make sure we know what we're doing here. This is going to give you the residuals, okay, squared. And to go back exactly here, right, we need not just the residual square, but we need the sum. So the last part, you can guess exactly what we're going to be doing with L4. We're going to be adding all the values in L4. So again, we're going to do one of our stat, L4, and we're looking for this value here. Okay, or we can also have the option of doing strict sum of L4, right? And that's going to give you the sum of the square residuals here. Right? That'd be your answer. Okay, again, this is the other way, and that would be the answer. These two should be exactly the same.